The forest was unnaturally quiet that morning. Dense fog drifted over the tree line of Fort Raleigh's northern boundary, where the military base faded into wilderness. Birds were silent. The usual rustle of deer or snapping of twigs had vanished, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Private Collins, walking point for a training squad of 4, spotted something off the trail. A figure, crumpled, barefoot, motionless. "Sir," he called to the lieutenant, "we've got a civilian, maybe injured." The group approached cautiously. The woman lay in damp soil, clothes torn and streaked with dried blood and mud. Her arms were curled inward like she'd been protecting herself. But what chilled Collins most was her expression. It wasn't fear. It was emptiness. When she stirred, her first instinct wasn't to flee. It was to look around, dazed, as though waking up from a coma with no recollection of what sleep was. Her lips parted. Where am I?" She spoke clearly, calmly, no accent, no confusion in her tone. But her eyes were blank, like her mind had been wiped clean. "We're near Fort Raleigh," Collins said, kneeling. "Can you stand?" She nodded, slow and robotic, then looked down at her own hands with a strange curiosity, as if they didn't quite belong to her. As she moved to push herself up, her sleeve slipped back, revealing a small, square tattoo of barcode, barely visible, faint, and aged. Collins frowned. "What the hell is that?" The base was put on immediate alert. Civilians didn't just stumble into Fort Raleigh, especially not from the north, where no road existed for miles. She was brought to the infirmary under escort. Medics checked her vitals. Everything was normal. No drugs in her system. No signs of assault. Her body was perfectly healthy physically, at least. General Marcus Halverson, 62, a career military man with sharp eyes and a rigid spine, read the report twice before setting it down. A woman, found unconscious in restricted training territory. No ID, no memory, no records, and a tattoo resembling military coding. He didn't like mysteries. Marcus stood at the observation window, arms folded, watching the woman sit on the edge of the medical bed. She had refused food, but had asked for water. Her movements were graceful, deliberate, calm, but unnerving. She didn't fidget. She didn't cry. She didn't ask a single question beyond, "Where am I?" And even that felt rehearsed. Hasn't asked for her family? He asked the attending nurse. "No, sir." No reaction to being told her name isn't in any system either. Halverson's eyes narrowed. "Run a full biometric scan. Check the barcode. I want her fingerprints rerun. Deep-level clearance. Everything short of hacking the Pentagon." The nurse hesitated. "Sir, do you think she's dangerous?" Marcus didn't answer immediately. His gaze dropped again to the tattoo. It was an older-style barcode, like something scanned at a supermarket, but denser. Industrial, not cosmetic. He had seen something like it once, buried in an off-book file almost 20 years ago. He remembered dismissing it as conspiracy mad. Science, black-budget nonsense. But now, "She's not dangerous," Marcus finally said. "She's classified." Back in the infirmary, the woman studied her reflection in a small wall mirror. She touched her face like it was unfamiliar. Her mind was a foggy maze. She knew the words people spoke to her. She recognized objects: a bed, a door, her own fingers, but nothing personal surfaced. No birthdays. No memories of laughter or loss. Just the echo of a name she wasn't sure belonged to her. Kara. It floated in her head, like a dream half forgotten. When the nurse returned with water, she asked softly, "Do you have a barcode scanner?" The nurse froze. "No, ma'am. Why?" Kara glanced at the tattoo, then back at her reflection. "I think it's the only part of me that's real." Asterisk inside Fort Raleigh's secure medical wing, Every beep, every flicker of light felt amplified. The woman codenamed Jane Doe for now sat silently in her room, her knees drawn up to her chest. She hadn't moved in hours. The barcode on her wrist was now bandaged, but she kept glancing at it, like it held the key to a door in her mind she couldn't unlock. General Marcus. Halverson stared through the one-way glass. He'd watched prisoners of war, captured spies, even shell-shocked veterans. None of them looked like this. She didn't look broken. She looked paused. Still nothing from facial recognition? He asked. Not a trace, sir, said Lieutenant Amara Lewis, tapping through files on her tablet. We've run her photo and prints through the FBI, Homeland, ESO, Interpol, even the UNRefugee database. No dental records? No hospital visits? Not even a parking ticket. As far as the world's concerned, she doesn't exist. Marcus exhaled through his nose. Nobody doesn't exist. He glanced down at a copy of her intake form. Name, unknown. Age, approx. 30. Hair, dark brown. Blood type, AB dot. And then, one haunting detail highlighted in red. No match in any system. Classify as level 4 anomaly. He tapped his finger on the file. What about the barcode? Amara looked uneasy. Still running diagnostics. The design doesn't match any military coding I've ever seen. Too old for modern encryption. Too complex for civilian use. There's a chance it's not a standard tattoo. It may be embedded. Marcus's jaw clenched. You think it's tech? Possibly. If it's a smart ink or bilayer imprint, it could contain data, not just an ID. He gave a small nod. Prep it for internal scan. I want to know what that ink says. Later that afternoon, Kara, though she still didn't know that was her real name, was moved to a classified lab 2 levels underground. There, a technician gently removed the bandage and held a small scanning wand above her wrist. No sound. No result. Again. Nothing. But on the third pass, the wand lit green. The monitor behind them blinked to life. A loading bar. Then text, encrypted. String Echo 12A file path, redacted access level, Omega Black, prohibited detect paled. This isn't ours, General. Marcus leaned in. Translate what you can access. On a secondary screen, one file flickered open. A low-res image. Marcus froze. It was her. Younger, maybe 12. Hair shorter, but the same eyes. Below the photo, subject 12, experimental status, active. She's part of something that's still running. Marcus muttered, I thought this was shut down years ago. The tech looked at him. Sir, what was Echo? Marcus didn't answer. He turned and looked at the woman, at Kara sitting quietly, eyes darting toward the scan monitor like she sensed something had changed. Later, alone in her room, Kara ran her fingers over the faint barcode again. She couldn't understand it, but something deep inside her knew it meant more than identity. It meant design. She stared into the mirror again, looking at herself not as a woman, but as a thing made by someone else. An experiment. A project. Weapon? The thought sickened her. She remembered flashes now, just flashes. A sterile white room. Men in lab coats. A voice whispering a name she no longer knew. And the scent of fire-burning wood and something worse. Screams? Hers? A tear rolled down her cheek, and for a second, her calm cracked. Not from fear. From rage. In his private quarters, Marcus opened a long sealed drawer. Inside was an old dossier from nearly 20 years ago. Stamped in black. Project Echo. Deep void classification terminated. 2005. He flipped through brittle pages until he found a familiar face. The same barcode. The same designation. Subject 12, Kara Halverson. Age, 11. Status: presumed deceased. Marcus's hand trembled. The fire, the report, the closed casket, the cover story. He had believed it. Needed to. But now she was here, alive, looking at him from behind that glass, unknowingly asking, "Why didn't you protect me?" And for the first time in decades, General Halverson had no command, no answers, only shame. In the dead of night, General Marcus Halverson sat alone in his office, the low hum of the overhead light barely masking the storm inside his head. Before him lay the classified echo file, yellowed with age, its contents once dismissed as failed. Theory and abandoned science. He remembered when it arrived on his desk, nearly 2 decades ago, labeled Project Echo, Cognitive Reprogramming and Enhanced Human Adaptation. He'd skimmed it, assumed it was another overfunded, underregulated fantasy cooked up by the Defense Advanced Research Division. But what he hadn't known then was how close to home it would strike. Subject: Twelva Kara. His daughter. Her file read like something out of dystopian. Fiction.age at admittance. 11 psychological compatibility. 93% genetic profile. Modified. Approved. For Phase 2 testing. Memory suppression. Ongoing behavior response. Compliant Marcus's fingers trembled as he turned the page, stopping at a small, grainy photo clipped to the corner. Kara, smiling awkwardly at the camera, a barcode visible. On her wrist even then. It was her. But it was before she became the empty-eyed stranger now sleeping beneath his base. Believed she died in a fire with her mother. A tragic electrical accident. He'd buried an empty coffin. Grieved. Tried to rebuild his life around the gaping hole they left behind. But the truth was darker. The fire was a cover-up. A smokescreen to erase her from existence and move her into Project Echo. And he had signed the transfer order himself. Unknowingly. At the same time, down in her secured room, Kara jolted awake. In the middle of the night, heart pounding. She wasn't sure why, but her breath came in short bursts. Her fingers twitching like muscle memory was fighting to return. A dream, no. A flash still lingered in her mind. Children. A circle of them, standing silently in a room with mirrored walls. A voice from above, asking a question in a calm, robotic tone. "What is your designation?" And in her dream, she replied in unison with the others. Echo. She stumbled to the mirror, staring at her reflection, her chest rising and falling. Rapidly, the fog in her brain had cracks now, and light was seeping through. Emotions she couldn't name surged: rage, confusion, pain, betrayal. Then a word surfaced. Halverson. She didn't know where it came from, but it pulsed in her head like a warning, or a memory. Elsewhere on base, Halverson met privately with Colonel Diaz, a trusted intelligence contact from his early days in special operations. "I need a secure name check," Marcus said, sliding the echo file across the table. "Internal. Sources only. No digital trace." Diaz frowned. "You serious? This thing hasn't been mentioned since the Bush administration. I need to know who signed off on this program, who funded it, who's still covering it up, and how many kids were taken." Diaz opened the file, scanned a few pages, and froze. Marcus. If this is what I think it is, then this wasn't just black budget. This was ghost level. These projects don't get shut down. They get renamed. They go deeper. Marcus's face hardened. "So Echo never died?" Diaz nodded grimly. "No, sir. It just went silent." That morning, Kara requested to speak with the General. Marcus stood in the doorway, unsure what to say. He'd rehearsed it 100 times during the night, but now that she was in front of him alive, flesh and blood, no longer a memory, his voice failed him. "I remembered something," she said calmly. Marcus's heart skipped. "You did?" She nodded. "Not everything. Just a name. Halverson. She watched his reaction carefully, studying his eyes like they held the missing pages of her mind. "Do you know what that means?" He swallowed. "Yes," he whispered. Kara stepped forward slowly. "Is that your name?" He couldn't lie. "Not anymore." "Yes." "Marcus Halverson, General. And your father." Her body stiffened, a storm rising behind her still expression. He tried to move closer. "Kara, I didn't know." "I thought you were dead." "No," she said quietly. "You thought I was gone." "There's a difference." The room fell into an unbearable silence after the word father left Marcus's mouth. Kara's eyes didn't move from his face, measuring his every blink, his every breath. She wanted to believe him. Some buried instinct pulled her toward that truth. But belief required trust. And her mind had been rebuilt not to trust anyone, especially not the man who signed the order that took her life away. "I need answers," she said, voice sharp and controlled. "Not sympathy. Not apologies. Tell me who did this to me." Marcus didn't flinch. He had spent a lifetime giving orders, keeping control. But now, with his own daughter looking at him like a stranger, he felt powerless. 20 years ago, he began, the Pentagon approved an experimental program under the radar Project Echo. It was built to create memory-adaptable operatives, soldiers who could forget pain, loss, even their own identity. Their minds could be rewritten, reset. He paused, searching her face for reaction. Kara said nothing. Her jaw clenched. Program was only supposed to use volunteers adults from military families. But the deeper I dig, the more I realize. They started targeting children, orphans, kids from unstable homes. You were one of them. Kara narrowed her eyes. But I wasn't an orphan. No, he admitted. You were taken from me. From your mother. They made it look like a fire. I thought I buried you. She stepped back, eyes burning now. You didn't question it? I was told not to. I believed what they showed me. I was grieving. And God help me, I had no idea you were part of this. Kara turned toward the window, arms crossed, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Pieces of her broken past were fitting together like jagged puzzle fragments. The white rooms, the whispered commands, the sound of gunfire behind closed doors. She hadn't dreamed them. She'd lived them. I don't remember you, she said, voice softer now, sadder. I don't remember my mother. I remember training, pain, silence, and then ... nothing. Marcus's hands tightened into fists. They erased your childhood, replaced it with code and control. A long beat passed between them. Kara finally turned back, face calmer now, but eyes still guarded. How many others were there? Marcus looked down. I don't know. She stepped forward. Then find out. Down in a hidden sub-basement of Fort Raleigh, Colonel Diaz was digging. The old Echo servers once thought destroyed had been buried inside a forgotten Cold War-era data bunker. Analog backups, too dangerous to digitize. Diaz sliced through. Red tape and magnetic shielding to access them. What he found chilled him. 12 subjects, all minors. Labeled A through L. Kara was 12. The first, the prototype. But she wasn't the only one who survived. Subjects D, F, and K. Status, active. Grabbed his sat phone and dialed Marcus. Sir, you need to come down here. You were right, Project Echo is still alive, and they've moved on to a second generation. Marcus's blood ran cold. Where are they? I don't know. But someone's protecting them. That night, Kara sat alone in her quarters, reading a declassified Echo briefing Marcus had reluctantly given her. It detailed experiments on children, forced memory suppression, combat testing, neurological mapping, emotional erasure. There was one detail she couldn't ignore. A name scrawled in the margin of one page. Dr. Evelyn Hart. Project Director. As soon as she saw it, a rush of adrenaline surged through her veins. That name, it wasn't just in the file, it was in her mind. A voice, a scent, cold fingers against her temple. The soft lullaby doctor Hart used to hum before sedating her. Kara had trusted her, called her Mother Hart. She rose to her feet, breathing hard. She's still out there. Marcus looked up from his desk as she burst into the room. We're not done, Kara said. You said I was the only one. You were wrong. I'm going to find the others. And then what? Her voice was ice. Then I burn it all down. 3 days later, Fort Raleigh's underground war room glowed with the blue hue of satellite monitors, classified search grids, and blinking red alerts. Kara stood at the center, arms folded across her chest, scanning a map littered with coded symbols, each one possibly connected to the Echo program. They called it a failure, she said quietly. But there are 3 others still active. 3 names, 3 weapons, just like me. So why haven't they surfaced? Marcus stood beside her, watching her with a mixture of awe and guilt. She moved like a soldier, analyzed like an analyst. She wasn't just remembering. She was reclaiming the identity someone had tried to bury. Because they're hiding them, Marcus said. Echo wasn't just about creating mindless operatives. It was about building ones who could live in plain sight until activated. And now they've been activated, Kara said. Lieutenant Amara Lewis entered, holding a secure tablet. We have a possible lead. A recent anomaly in Paraguay. An entire border village was wiped out. Military precision, 0 evidence, no survivors. Witnesses described a ghost in a red mask, a man who moved faster than thought. No known affiliation. Kara grabbed the tablet and stared at the report. Subject, Echo F. Code name, Feral. She felt her pulse spike. That's one of them. Amara nodded. If it is, we're already behind him by 4 days. We think he's moving toward Brazil. No paper trail. Nothing digital. Then he's been trained like me, Kara said. Which means he's not acting on instinct. He's responding to a trigger. Marcus stiffened. A handler. In the depths of a secure, unnamed facility, cloaked beneath a private biotech research lab, a woman in a charcoal suit watched a monitor in silence. Footage played on loop. Kara inside the war room, tracing lines on the map. ECHO-12A has breached containment, a voice said through the speaker. Orders? The woman narrowed her eyes. She's trying to find the others. Yes, Director. Hart. She already has Feral's trail. Dr. Evelyn Hart turned from the screen and picked up a slim black phone. Initiate contingency sweep. Prepare Subject K for intercept. If she gets too close? The voice crackled. Terminate? Evelyn's smile was cold. Not yet. Let them find each other. Let her believe she's leading the hunt. She hung up. The real experiment hasn't ended. It's just begun. Back at Fort Raleigh, Kara. Geared up military tack vest, combat boots, untraceable combs, and a tracker locked onto Feral's last known path. She moved like she'd done this 100 times, because in a way, she had. I'm coming with you, Marcus said. She turned to him, lips tight. No, you're not. I need to protect you. I don't need protection. I need the truth, and the truth's not here. Marcus sighed. You're not a weapon, Kara. She paused, then met his eyes with a fire he hadn't seen in years. No, I was a weapon. Now, I'm the one holding the trigger. Amara handed her a small vial. This might help. Synthetic stabilizer. If your memories resurface too fast, it'll keep the neurological storm under control. Kara pocketed it without a word. Hours later, deep in the heart of the Amazon basin, Kara emerged from a black market river transport onto scorched ground. The smell of death still lingered. She knelt beside a burned-out shack, fingers grazing. Ash and metal shards. She closed her eyes. A flash. A scream. A boy's voice echoing in her head. They said I'd never be alone again. She opened her eyes sharply. Feral had been here. But he wasn't killing out of instinct. He was surviving. A branch snapped behind her. Kara spun, weapon raised. But it wasn't Feral. It was someone else tall, cloaked in jungle fatigues, a feint. Barcode visible on her neck. Subject K. The girl smiled without emotion. You shouldn't have come here, Kara. Kara froze. You know me? She asked. Kay nodded. We all do. They told us about the echo who forgot, the one who ran. They said if we ever saw you. She tilted her head, almost curiously. We'd have to bring you back, or break you. Kara's eyes narrowed. Try. Kara's breath slowed as she faced Subject K beneath the sweltering jungle canopy. The heat pressed against her skin, but it was nothing compared to the pressure building. In her chest, Subject K stood completely still, her eyes empty but alert, like a wolf analyzing prey before striking. You remember me, Kara said slowly. K nodded once, precise. Echo 1-2A, Alpha Subject. Rejected, recovered, and now, rogue. The words, struck with surgical coldness. Kara could hear them not as accusations, but programming. Someone else's language spilling from her mouth. You're still following orders, Kara replied. You don't have to. We don't have to be there. Weapons anymore. A flicker of something passed over Kay's expression, hesitation maybe. A ghost of memory. But it vanished as quickly as it came. I don't take orders, Kay replied. I execute protocols. You broke protocol. And then she moved. A blur of motion exploded in front of Kara as Kay lunged, spinning low with a sweep meant to drop her. Kara dodged backward, boots skidding in wet leaves. She countered with a high kick that connected with Kay's shoulder, but Kay barely reacted. Steel met muscle. Years of training clashed like thunder. They fought silently. No screams, no threats, just instinct and skill. Each blow was a conversation. Who they were, what they had become, and what had been taken from them. Kara caught Kay's wrist mid-strike and twisted hard, forcing her opponent to the ground. But Kay rolled, using the momentum to kick Kara in the ribs. Pain bloomed through her chest. She tumbled, gasping, but not stopping. They broke apart, circling again. You're not my enemy, Kara said, chest heaving. Kay's voice was steady. Then why does it feel like I was built to kill you? Miles away, General Marcus Halverson was poring over a folder marked Echo Phase 2. The pages inside were blood-stained. Some had been ripped from other documents. But one page made his hand tremble. Memory entanglement experiment successful. Subjects A, K, and F show neuroharmonic resonance. Marcus stared at the diagram. It showed overlapping EEG scans from the three subjects. When one echo subject activates, the others feel it. Memories, emotions, pain. He whispered, they're connected. And if Kara got too close to the others, the connection could overload or reprogram her completely. Back in the jungle, Kara and Kay clashed again, this time slower, more deliberate. Kara's hand reached for the small vial Amara had given her. Synthetic stabilizer. Her vision blurred. She was seeing flashes again. A hallway. Kay crying in a room behind glass. Kara's own hands against the window, whispering through the wall. I'll come back for you. The memory hit her like a wave. I know you, Kara said, lowering her weapon. You were the youngest. You? Didn't speak for a year. I used to read to you. Kay's eyes widened for the first time. You remember? Kara nodded. You used to call me Big K. The moment cracked something inside K. Her arms dropped slightly, breathing uneven. Then a voice echoed through both their earpieces. Echo K. Re-engage. Subject 12A is a security threat. Orders confirmed. Flinched like she'd been slapped. No, Kara said quickly, stepping forward. They don't control you anymore. But Kay's screened eyes clenching shut as her mind surged with a new wave of commands. Blood ran from one nostril. I can't stop it. She gasped. Kara grabbed her shoulders. Fight it. You can. Kara reached for the vial and jabbed it into Kay's arm. The stabilizer hissed. Kai's body spasmed, then fell limp against her. That moment, in the hidden Echo Control Center, alarms blared. Echo Kai has been compromised. A technician shouted. Dr. Evelyn Hart narrowed her eyes. 12A's bond is stronger than anticipated. Activate Subject F. She turned to a dark monitor. Let's see what happens when we pit brother against sister. The jungle was still again unnaturally so. Birds had stopped chirping. Even the air felt too quiet, too heavy. Kara knelt beside Subject K, who now lay unconscious beneath a canopy of trees. Her pulse was steady. The stabilizer was holding. But Kara could feel something else, pressing in from the edges of her mind. A sensation like static crawling beneath her skull. A signal. He was near. Feral. The tracker in her vest pinged faintly, then went dead. Static overtook her comms. The last thing she heard was Marcus's voice crackling. Get out of there. He's coming. Too late. She rose to her feet, senses tuned like wire. Then the leaves parted. He moved through the jungle like an animal, barefoot, shirtless, covered in tribal paint, but with the unmistakable barcode tattoo stretching across his spine. He was taller than she remembered, older, sharper, wild in the eyes, but calm in posture. Subject F, the Echo they called Feral. He didn't speak at first, just studied her, like a lion deciding if it should kill or watch. You followed. He finally said, his voice deep, slow, like it hadn't been used in years. You've been killing, Kara replied. I've been surviving. She stepped forward. You're not just surviving. You're waking up. That means you remember. He gave a twitch of a smile. I remember everything. More than you ever did? Kara felt her stomach turn. Then why keep running? He looked past her, at Subject K, unconscious behind her. Because I saw what they did to us. And I knew. If I stayed, I'd become what they wanted. Kara's voice broke. We were children. We were tools. They stood in silence. Then Feral said, You used to call me Finn. The name hit her like a thunderclap. Another locked door in her memory swung open. A boy with sharp eyes and a crooked smile, holding her hand in the rain. The whisper, If they take you, I'll find you. The name etched into a piece of wood. K plus F. You were my brother, she whispered. He nodded once. Still I am. Tears welled in Kara's eyes before she could stop them. They told me I never had a family. They lied. He stepped closer now, softer. I waited for you, Kara. Every night, after they said you didn't pass protocol, they told us you were gone. But I knew. I felt you. Like a string still tied to me. She felt it now, too, the connection. Echo's secret weapon wasn't control. It was bond. They can't own us if we remember who we are, she said. Feral's eyes darkened. Then remember this Evelyn Hart's not just running the program. She's starting a new one. Kara's pulse jumped. What? They're creating Echo 2.0? Clones? No memories? No past? Just combat software in flesh. She's erased what little humanity we had left, and she's replacing us with ghosts. Kara turned toward Kay's unconscious body. She'd never stop. Unless we stop her. He looked toward the horizon. There's a transport compound 20 kilometers north. That's where she's building them. They're not human yet, but they will be soon. Kara nodded. Then that's where we go. He gave her a long look. You sure you can handle what comes next? I already am what they feared I'd become, she said. A weapon with a conscience. Back at Fort Raleigh, Marcus sat in stunned silence. Amara had just handed him the decrypted file that changed everything. Look at the donor Guillen signatures, she said. He did. And froze. Subject F. Kara. K. They didn't just share training, she said softly. They share blood. Marcus's hand shook. Evelyn used your DNA. She created Echo from your family. His voice was a whisper. They were never subjects. They were my children. The transport compound stood like a steel monolith, buried in the jungle. Surrounded by a perimeter of motion sensors and guards in black armor, it looked more like a vault than a lab. Inside, beneath layers of concrete and encrypted doors, rows of cryochambers buzzed. Each one housed a barely formed human. Blank slates. Future soldiers. Echo 2.0. And at the heart of it all stood Dr. Evelyn Hart. She moved like a queen in her kingdom cold. Exact, unflinching. On a massive monitor behind her, surveillance feeds tracked Kara, Feral, and Subject K approaching through the jungle. A kill squad waited on standby. Do not engage, she said. Let them come in. A technician blinked. You want them to breach? They need to see what they were meant to be replaced by. Let them rage. Rage is predictable. Outside, Kara crouched beside Feral and Kay near the facility's edge. The three of them moved like parts of one machine, silent, synchronized, unstoppable. For the first time, they weren't weapons pointed by someone else. They were aiming themselves. Thermal sensors cut at the west wing. Feral murmured. Security is blind for 90 seconds. Kay nodded. Vent tunnel opens to the sub-level lab. It's our way in. They moved. It took less than 4 minutes to breach the interior. 3 guards fell silently before alarms could sound. The compound lit up in red too late. The Echo siblings were already inside the heart of the beast. Kara stepped into the lab first. She stopped cold. There they were, rows of bodies in fluid tanks. Young, unborn. Each one marked by a barcode burned into developing skin. She felt sick. They were going to replace us, she whispered. Wipe out the pain, the memories, the soul. Feral's jaw clenched. Echo without identity. That's what Hart really wants. Soldiers who don't question, who don't remember. A hiss of hydraulics drew their attention. Evelyn Hart stepped into the lab's far doorway, flanked by 2 android enforcers, eyes glowing. I expected more tears, she said calmly. Reunions usually end with tears. Kara raised her weapon. This ends now. No, Hart replied, lifting a remote from her coat pocket. This ends how I choose. She pressed a button. Pain exploded through all 3 siblings at once, like lightning ripping through their skulls. Each one dropped to their knees, screaming. Neural override installed in them since childhood, now activated. You think you're free? Hart sneered. You think blood and memory make you special? You are wires and meat. And I am the one who turns the power on or off. Kara clutched her head, teeth grinding, her vision blurred. But she fought the pull. Not just with strength, with purpose. A voice echoed in her mind. We are not their property. We are not their silence. It was her own voice, something she had said once, long ago. And now she made it true. With trembling hands, Kara reached for her vest and pulled free the stabilizer vial. One last shot. She drove it into her own leg. The pain broke. Her vision cleared. Her mind snapped back into focus. She rose. Hart stepped back, surprised. Impossible. Kara leveled her weapon. You tried to erase us. You gave us barcodes instead of names. You broke us into pieces and built killers. Her siblings stood beside her, now alive, defiant. But you forgot something, Kara said coldly. What? Hart spat. We weren't made in your lab. We were born in pain. And we survived you. She pulled the trigger. The remote shattered in Hart's hand. The androids lunged but feral, and Kay moved faster. In seconds, it was over. Hart lay on the floor, gasping. Defeated. You'll just become what I was. She coughed. Kara shook her head. No, I'll become what you feared. I'd be a person. 1 month later, the Echo siblings stood together. At the edge of a quiet lake, no longer fugitives, no longer test subjects. Just 3 people, staring at the sunrise. No barcodes. No weapons. Just names. Kara. Finn. Kaya. The past couldn't be erased, but the future? It was finally theirs.